Nvidia just accidentally revealed their RTX 6090? But before I get to that, PC gaming has a major issue and AMD is making some wild claims. Welcome everyone to Gamer Melt. But first, I've got an awesome giveaway for you. Without any purchase necessary, you get a chance to win quite possibly the coolest PC ever. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. It's a full-blown gaming PC toaster. I'm not kidding. This is so cool. It's a toaster hand-built with RGB LCD screens. This thing is wild. For starters, the power and reset buttons are literally the toaster push switches. And let's be honest, it actually looks like a toaster. That's the wild part. They were able to fit the power cord, display out, even a Thunderbolt dock all out of this tiny hole in the back. They even made custom ventilation so you actually have decent airflow. But check out what they were able to pack in here. An RTX 5060, 850 watt power supply, 32 gigs of memory. I mean, this really is so cool. And what's wild is that all the LCD and RGB work with Signal RGB, who actually sponsored this video so I could tell you about the giveaway. Like I said, there's no purchase necessary to enter. Just check out the link in the description for your chance to win this epic build. Okay, it's news time, and first up for today, PC gaming has a major problem when a $2,000 GPU, not PC, just the GPU, can barely run this. As this person states here, his brand new 5090 can't even get 60 FPS in Borderlands 4 at 4K. And if we look at the performance numbers from Tech PowerUp, we can see that very much is the case. It can't even get 50 FPS without turning on upscaling. And it's 1,000 times worse when we look at handhelds, like the very competent ROG Ally X can't even average 30 FPS at low settings, and the lows here are unplayable. And don't even think about playing it on Steam Deck, we're looking at a whopping 11 to 13 FPS here. Don't worry though, because the creators of Borderlands 2K games put out a whopping 68 GPU settings that you can change for optimal performance. Oh, and it's basically expected that you use DLSS. The CEO flat out says that it's built to take advantage of it. But what it should say is that it requires it. And this is becoming all too common in the gaming industry right now. It feels like companies are using upscaling as a crutch to avoid better optimizing their game instead of using it as a way to get even more FPS out of what we would already expect. And don't get me wrong, it is insanely impressive that modern GPUs can run ray tracing in real time, something that would have been unheard of before. It really is amazing what games like Minecraft can look like when you add a ton of rays to a scene. But this is Borderlands we're talking about. It already looked great for what it was. And sure, Borderlands 4 is the best looking one, but going from Borderlands 3 to 4 is more like a minor tweak, yet the requirements have gone through the roof. I'm not sure if this is an issue with prioritizing features like ray tracing and path tracing above all others, or it's using cookie cutter features in Unreal Engine 5 to save time, or relying on upscaling to fix optimization problems, or maybe a mixture of all three. But it's clear that something is wrong in the gaming industry, and it needs to be fixed soon. And next up for today, AMD just released a pretty wild marketing promotion that I will say is honestly impressive. As you can see right down here in China, AMD is advertising that their newest X30 chips are capable of getting as much as 1,000 FPS in multiple games. Now, the obvious issue here is the fact that there isn't a single monitor that can get to 1,000 FPS. The current fastest is a 720Hz monitor, and when you get up to that kind of frame rate, you'll likely start having things like your mouse's polling rate holding it back. Not to mention whether we can truly even perceive that level of frames in any noticeable way. But this is still impressive. As you can see here, we're looking at Counter-Strike 2, League of Legends, Valorant, PUBG, Naraka Blade Point, and Marvel Rivals. One notably important issue with this is that to get all the games they mention, You need an Nvidia GPU. The 9070 XT only gets you there in 2 of these games. But don't get me wrong, we know that AMD has slower GPUs, and let's be honest, at frame rates this high, the CPU becomes just as important as the GPU. Still though, this is ultimately just marketing. There's really no reason anyone would need or want 1000 FPS, but it certainly shows that AMD has the fastest gaming CPUs, and it really is impressive that they can do it on a more mid-range CPU like the 9800 X3D. And lastly for today, did Nvidia accidentally reveal their RTX 6090? It sure looks that way. For those who don't know, Nvidia was recently at an AI technology conference, and at it, the company unveiled their Rubin CPX GPU. And of course, Rubin is Nvidia's next-gen GPU architecture. Now, this GPU is a part of their new disaggregated inference strategy. Essentially, Nvidia's plan for next-gen is to split up the workload into 2 different types of GPUs. A compute-focused GPU for the context phase, and a memory bandwidth-focused GPU for the generation phase. And both of these GPUs would work together to boost inference. And the CPX GPU is designed specifically to be the compute workhorse. And what's interesting about this is that one independent semiconductor analyst called High Yield looked over this new render, and they found that it's very similar to Nvidia's current GB202, which is of course the GPU inside Nvidia's 5090. I'm talking it has full raster units, everything needed for traditional rendering. As it states right down here, it says based on the published die render, Rubin CPX could integrate 16 graphics processing clusters, each with 6 TPCs or texture processing clusters. This gives us a total of 192 SMs, which is actually the same number as the GB202. But if we actually take the same configuration as Blackwell, which is 8 TPCs instead of 6 TPCs, that would mean we're looking at 256 stream processors. You can see it says the full design may also feature 256 ROPs, a 512-bit GDDR7 memory interface, and PCI Express 6.0 support. So compared to the GeForce RTX 5090's GB202 GPU with 192 SMs, 176 ROPs, this GR202 GPU shows visible improvements, but keep in mind that the 5090 is actually a cut down version of the GB202. Simply put, it's a bin GB202, even though it's essentially made specifically to be the 5090, but it's likely better to have some wiggle room in case some cores are damaged during production. But even accounting for a potential binning of around 10% disabled die, an RTX 6090 based on this GPU with 8 TCPs would likely get around 28,000 CUDA cores, which means we are looking at an estimated 28% increase over the RTX 5090. And you can actually see that we could in fact be looking at anywhere between 28,672 and 32,768. Basically, if this ends up being right, which I could definitely see Nvidia doing this, their RTX 6090 would yet again get a very nice uplift in performance over current gen. Even without faster clocks or architectural changes, we're looking at around 30% faster baseline. Then give anything like clock boosts and we could easily see 40% plus. Of course, there are some other questions like, will it require a nuclear reactor to power it? And will I have to sell everything I own to afford it? For answers to that and more, make sure you subscribe to GamerMeld.